The Gulf of Aden is one of the world's busiest shipping routes. Situated off the northeastern African coast, this ocean passage connects Europe to Asia, with an estimated 21,000 ships passing through annually. It's also notorious for being the world's most dangerous area for piracy, specifically from Somali pirates. Between 2010 and 15, there were an estimated 358 attempted or successful attacks by Somalian pirates on commercial vessels. Some of these hijackings have been as far as 600 kilometers out to sea, and the financial costs of a successful attack are enormous. The World Bank put the financial damage from the Somali piracy at around $18 billion per year, considering the damage done to the global shipping industry and the cost to consumers. The 2013 Tom Hanks thriller Captain Phillips was based on the very real story of an attempted hijacking of the Maersk, Alabama ship in 2009. Somalian pirates stormed the cargo off the ship and they took the captain hostage in a tense standoff. This was the first time in 200 years that an American vessel had been seized by pirates. When President Obama gave the go-ahead, Navy SEALs quickly overpowered the pirates, and Phillips was rescued. Although it was a Hollywood blockbuster, the movie gave viewers an idea of how the Somali pirates worked. Operating in small boats with GPS trackers and willing to go extraordinary lengths to extract ransoms, the pirates are well-funded and they're well-armed. Rocket launchers, automatic weapons, and satellite phones are all at their disposal. The rise of Somali pirates began in 1991 when the Somali government was overthrown. The entire country was hurled into disarray and went into a state of ongoing lawlessness and poverty. Rival warlords fought to take control of Somalia, with many Somalis fleeing from the country, and increasing violence and corruption. The lack of income and desperation to survive drove many young Somali men to potentially lucrative gains of piracy. A number of Somali pirates have been frustrated and angry fishermen. They argue that their livelihood has been taken by offshore fishing poachers from overseas. These foreign ships have taken full advantage of Somalia's non-existent coast guard, and they used this to pilfer fish from Somali waters. On top of that, the aggrieved Somali fishermen have also claimed that overseas ships have polluted and dumped waste in their waters, effectively destroying any chance of them being able to make a living from fishing. As a result, many simply turn to applying their boating and navigational skills towards more financially rewarding pursuits of piracy. Their goal? To get their hands on the biggest ransoms possible. Whether it's by kidnapping members of a ship's crew or hijacking the entire cargo, Somalian pirates have considerable success in extorting millions upon millions of dollars from shipping companies and insurance brokers. So how does it all work? Well, from the early 2000s, the pirates began using larger, former fishing vessels as motherships. This would act as a base and were situated hundreds of kilometers from the shore. Smaller and faster boats would take off from the base vessels and quickly run down their target container ships. If the large ships want to avoid the lightweight pirate speedboats, they have to maintain a speed of around 18 knots per hour, which is pretty much impossible. The zippy pirate boats usually carry no more than 4 to 6 men. Once they pull up to the targeted vessels, the pirates board the ships using grappling hooks and ladders to climb aboard quickly. The bandits are typically well armed with automatic weapons, such as AK-47s, pistols, anti-tank rocket launchers, and grenades. Weapons are notoriously easy to get your hands on in Somalia, with a thriving arms market based in the capital of Mogadishu. Once the pirates take control of the ship, their immediate goal is to hold the cargo for ransom, and if possible, the crew too. Targets at the top of their list are slow-moving tankers carrying valuable commodities like oil, palm oil, military equipment, and industrial chemicals. In 2008, the pirates made international headlines when they captured a Saudi oil tanker carrying $100 million worth of crude oil. The Gulf of Aden has been pirates' favorite hunting ground. The Gulf lies between Somalia and Yemen, which is the direct and fastest route for ships traveling to and from Asia and Europe and the Americas. Around 20,000 merchant ships a year pass on the way in and out of the Suez Canal, most of them carrying highly valuable cargo. NATO, the US, and other nations have combined to form a multinational task force to patrol the Gulf of Aden, but the sheer size of the ocean means plenty of speedy pirate boats can reach their targets undetected. Plus, it's got to be remembered that many of the Somalian pirates are fishermen by trade. They're adept at maneuvering their boats around the Gulf of Aden, and they're backed with sophisticated tracking technology. Which begs the question, who funds the pirates, and what do they want, and what do they do with the proceeds? Many of the pirates basically work for themselves. Some are backed by Somalian warlords who provide weapons and funding. If the pirates are able to seize a ship and are paid a ransom, the money is both reinvested into more weaponry and boats, as well as being paid out to all involved. If a warlord is in charge of the operation, they naturally get a cut of the action. Somalian port officials are also often bribed to either look the other way or provide valuable intel regarding vessels and their cargoes. The US Treasury was able to track money trail from paid ransoms that suggested expat Somalis living in the Middle East are also largely behind these pirate operations. Investigators suspect that money men receive the payments via a complicated series of money transfers using an underground banking system. After taking a tidy percentage for themselves, the moneymen then distribute the proceeds back to the pirates, often in the scores of $10 and millions of dollars. At the peak of the hijackings from around the mid-2000s to the early 2010s, it's thought that the number of Somali pirates were in the thousands. Shipping companies and their insurers realized that they couldn't cross their fingers and hope that the US Navy or NATO came to their aid because the pirates were too good, and the ocean was too large. Many container ships and oil carriers contracted private security teams and provided extensive training programs for crews in the case of pirate attacks. Ship crews under the most danger have been those belonging to the countries perceived as wealthy, which in Somalia's case is, well, anybody. These crews are far more likely to be taken hostage and kept in prison for however long it takes to be paid a ransom. On whole, ransoms are paid and hostages are released. However, there have been plenty of occasions when negotiations either failed or the pirates simply took it upon themselves and the hostages have been executed. In 2020, Somali pirates finally released over 3,000 hostages, many of whom have been in prison for 5 or more years in very trying conditions. Ransoms are mostly paid by the shipping company owners. Most governments around the world have refused to bargain with terrorists or pirates and are strongly opposed to paying ransoms. Depends on the country, though. For example, the French government is usually in favor of paying ransoms to free their citizens who have been imprisoned or taken hostage. Recently, however, pirate attacks have been declining significantly, which is due to a massive joint international task force aimed at putting an end to Somali piracy, using whatever means necessary. In 2010, the United Nations Security Council began passing resolutions that allowed foreign naval and air forces to enter Somali waters wherever and whenever they saw fit. Task forces involving the US and various European countries' militaries have all conducted intensive patrols and preemptive attacks on known and suspected pirate groups. This has dramatically reduced not just the number of attacks at sea, but the groups and gangs in operation, with members moving away from piracy as a source of income. The late 2000s were a notoriously dangerous period for Somali piracy. In 2009 alone, of the 406 worldwide pirate attacks, 217 were in the Gulf of Aden. Compare this from the years 2017 to 2022, in which there were 12 reported attacks. As well-organized and ruthless as the pirate gangs may be, they've been ultimately powerless against the elite military forces of the developed world. Still, the country of Somalia has had a wretched past 30 or so years with no stable government or economy, people been living in a lawless existence. So add this to the perceived exploitation by foreign fishing poachers, and many Somalis have regarded the pirates as almost heroic. They've been viewed as simply having no other option to survive, and many feel their actions are warranted after much of the world watched on as the country was torn apart and its seas pillaged. At the end of the day, though, they were simply targeting cargoes and ships with too much at stake. Anything or anyone disrupting the flow of crucial world trading routes is bound to come under the spotlight. So, the Somali pirates certainly had a good run for the best part of a decade, but ultimately, they poked the bear. And now it seems at least the game is over.